Hello, Internet. Today we have a MacBook. That's right, I work on MacBooks now. Louis Rossmann can finally retire knowing that someone can continue his legacy. Alright, who cares? This one came working, but the Wi-Fi antenna was ripped. Let's have a look at what we're dealing here with. I also like to disconnect the battery. Ooh, look at these coils. That's for wireless charging, probably. Where are the batteries? And how do you... that's not the battery. That's the wireless charging thing. The battery is probably here. I don't know. Do I care? Because I do not really plan on doing any kind of poking around other than resoldering the Wi-Fi connector to here, like this. Because if I'm not mistaken, the connector itself is not damaged other than it's ripped off the board. So, but it would be nice to figure out. Okay, so I finally figured out the battery. Seems like the battery is gonna be this thing. So let's pull the battery out. Hopefully we don't damage anything. Because you know, Apple is so fragile. There we go. That was easy. Cool. Now let's figure out what to do with this connector. So I'm going to hold down the head like so while trying to, and obviously failing to, yank the board end of that connector out. And that's very difficult, it seems. Okay, there we go. There we go. Perfect. So now is that perfect? No, that just split the connector in half. So it looks like we might need to replace that connector after all. So let's have a look. We've got, what do we got here? Oh yeah, that guy is like, ugh. Oh no, I hope I can dig it out. I definitely do not want that to be stuck in there. Let's get it out. Okay, so we got it out. That's good. That's very good. Now we need to find, now we're gonna find a connector. Let's see if I can find one in my parts drawer. And what complicates this process is that there are a few different types of these, if I'm not mistaken, or at the very least two different sizes. So I think I have two different sizes. So we have a bigger one. I'm gonna go show you what I got. Switch to a microscope. So we've got this type, PX1, whatever that means. So we got this, and then we got this. Now that looks more like what we need right here. So that's good that we have what we need. Let's go ahead and try to solder it to the board. I bought this a while ago. I don't know if you remember the video I did about the laptop repair, and then the guy went on Reddit complaining about it. That was the laptop that I forgot to... I couldn't fix the Wi-Fi antenna because he ripped off the connectors, and I ended up buying those connectors later on, but at that point the Reddit post was already made. Alright, who cares? Let's put some flux in here. I'm not exactly sure how I want to go about doing this. I'm guessing I'm just gonna wig the pads if I can, and that seems to be very difficult. It doesn't wanna melt, so I'm starting to think I'm gonna have to get that board out of there. Okay, so that works, but obviously I cannot solder anything on this board this way, so I'm gonna have to, I guess I'm gonna have to take this board out after all, and I am not too happy about it, I tell you that. So let's see, how does this even work? So if we're able to get this out, that ribbon is gonna go there, then we probably be needing to disconnect that, whatever this thing here is, kind of a metal plate, probably display or a wireless charger, I don't know. And then we have this connector that reminds me the NVIDIA's Founders Edition cooling fan connector, where you just sort of lift it. Yep, there we go. That's exactly what it was. And this ribbon cable here, hopefully it just gets pulled out. There we go. So we got the ribbon connector, we got this. This guy here refuses to come out. Okay, there we go. Something is still connected to the bottom of this. I'm guessing it's not gonna be... I'm guessing there's a whole lot more underwater rocks than this is. So let's start removing some of these screws. Hopefully we get things loose. Piece of metal here, don't know what that does. Shield here is something also attached to the... That's okay, so this here is probably for all of these USB connectors on the left. Okay, another one of those cables that reminds me of a laptop display cable. Okay, so the board starts to move a little bit. One more screw here. Okay, and I think I need to undo these. Not sure. I'm gonna undo these anyway. You gotta make sure that you're using a proper screwdriver, because if you don't, you're gonna be stripping these heads and you're gonna be screwed. So let's see if that comes out. Okay, I see movement. I also see more ribbon cables that I think I need to disconnect here on this end. See what that does. Okay, are we starting to get movement? All right, I think we're starting to get a movement. We just need to carefully yank the board out of there. This is very, very... Oh, we still have this one connector that we failed to disconnect. Okay, there we go. I feel like something is tugging on it. Can't really figure out what it is. Probably something on the bottom of the board. No? Oh, okay. This cable here. There we go. Okay, cool. The board is out. Okay, let's take this thing. I'm guessing we have a CPU under here, and all of these connectors. That's not nice. Just too much stuff. All of this needs to be protected, most likely. So let's do some maintenance first. Put that there. And this is why I don't want to do phone repairs or anything Apple, because it just requires a lot of intricate things that you gotta do, like, you know, protecting connectors and whatnot. And I have zero experience with these boards. So let's see, I probably want this on some kind of a stand so I can hold the board down, or just kind of place it over here. All right, we're just gonna place it here. Let's go under the microscope, see what we got. All right, here we go. So my guess is that we're just gonna go really slow with the heat, and we need to figure out how to properly position that connector. And I think it goes in with the short end of the pin this way. Yep, compare that to the one over there. Looks about right. And let's see if we can successfully solder this thing down without melting the connector. I kind of wonder if I can assist with the soldering iron like that, so that the ground plane melts a little bit easier, and maybe we can bring in a little bit more flux in here and just a little bit more solder so that we can transfer some of that heat onto that pad. There, that's what I wanted to see. I just wanted that connector to just sort of drop by itself. And then we're gonna touch up the pins. And I think we're done. All that's left now is to clean it up. Hopefully I didn't damage anything. Well, I just blew all these tiny little micro screws, who knows where. I just blew them off the table. Nice. About an hour later, with a piece of magnet, I was able to find the screws. So we're good. Let's go and put this thing back into the board. Definitely a lesson learned. And the lesson is, don't blow anything off the table, ever. Especially when you got screws laying around like this. That was dumb, to say the least. But I wasn't really sure what was I doing, so that's my excuse. What more do you want? Alright, now let's put this thing together. I guess some kind of a system would need to be developed to take these things apart in a way that you can actually remember where things go, or some experience would be nice, neither of which I have, so it is what it is. Alright, let's get these connectors back to where they belong. So there's one on the left. If I can get this aligned properly before I push it in. So sketchy. Doesn't want to go in. There we go. Yeah, definitely not something you want to do without a microscope. Oh well. I'm not exactly sure why owner wanted to take this thing apart to begin with, and I melted the latch just a little tiny bit. The latch still works, so yeah, maybe my temperatures were a bit too high. I was at 420 with maybe 10% airspeed with the nozzle. I'm guessing that was a little bit too much. Not a whole lot. Maybe I could dial it down to maybe 380 or something like that. Yeah, you know, don't have any experience working on these things anyway, so how's that supposed to know? Either way, plug the battery back in. There we go. Unfortunately, I do not have any kind of screws for this back plate, so who cares? Let's see if this thing works. I cannot even properly close this. It's supposed to latch or something. I thought this is supposed to latch, but it just seems to come right off. And I do not see any kind of latching mechanisms anywhere. So how does this supposed to hold on? I have no idea. It feels like it's just sitting down flat, so I guess I can just kind of give it a couple of little tiny screws if I can find any. Don't even know what kind of screws it uses. Not that. See if I can put this in here. Alright, so that seems to work. Not sure why didn't the customer send me the screws. It would be very helpful. Something like that. Extra charge for screws. Screws cost money. Alright. Let's see. I didn't even open it. Don't even know what's inside. Alright, so we have a password. Yes. Alright, let's this power button, I think. Do we need a charger? I wonder. We probably need a charger. Alright. Where does the charger go? I guess it goes into one of these. Okay. Let's see. I'm hoping this is power button. I don't know. Alright, there we go. There's the Apple logo. Cool. So it's actually loading. Alright, so let's go into the test account. Password, password. Alright. I think the account starts to work. I just want to see if I'm able to see the Wi-Fi and if I'm getting a strong signal. Make sure that the repair actually worked. Come on, Apple. You know I hate you. Alright, so let's go into here. I would imagine. Find. Signal looks very strong. Okay, I'm gonna enter the password so you don't see it. Alright. It shows a lot of signals, so that's good. It means it's actually working, so I think we got it fixed. Let's go into Safari, I believe. I'm not Mac friendly. Okay, I want Google. And I want a speed test. And let's run the speed test. Alright, it's 100 megs per second. Download, 100 megs almost upload. What? Yeah, 100 megs download. And 100 upload. You know, it really makes me wonder, why do you think that is? Why do you think... Let me turn this thing off. How do you turn it off? How do you turn this thing off? Hold power button down? Let's do that. What makes me wonder is, why is it that all of a sudden, my provider, and probably yours too, in the recent years, started giving you upload speeds as much as download speeds? Is it, because remember, back in the old days, when the dinosaurs were still roaming the earth, the upload speed would be 1/10 or maybe, if you're lucky, a quarter of your download speed. But for whatever reason, in the recent history, since we started colonizing the Mars, the upload speeds are even higher. I think this is all done on purpose. And I think that purpose is very simple. So that they can get more data from you. I think it's all about data. They want to be able to grab as much stuff off of you with your video cameras, footage, you know, things like that. So I think that's what it is. But regardless, I'd like to know your thoughts on this. Let me know in the comment section below. And I'll see you later. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll fix something else in the next video. Goodbye.